All right, guys, what's up? My name is Tara Devlin. Thank you for hanging out. This is Tarabuster Tuesdays. Let's see, how's it sounding? How's it looking? I'm waiting for the voiceover, but it's not going to come. Let me lower the music. What's up, everybody? We will meet here every Tuesday at 2 p.m. on the Political Voices YouTube channel and the Substack. And the show will be uploaded tomorrow on the Tarabuster YouTube channel at youtube.com/c4channel/Tarabuster. Nice to see you. Thank you, Jim, for being a moderator in the chat room. We got a lot of work to do, and I'm glad that we're in this together. So hopefully more people will arrive and people will understand. I mean, it is Thanksgiving week, but people will get to know that we do have a show on Tuesdays now, and hopefully we'll have a show on other days too. See how it goes. We were going to have JoJo from Jers was going to come on, but she called in sick, so I gave her a sick leave pass, and we will revisit her appearance. We will reschedule probably in a couple of weeks. So I get it. She doesn't want to be sick for I was going to say Christmas, but Thanksgiving. All right, let me move this over. What is happening? We got a lot to talk about. And before I keep going, just thank you, Charlie, from APS Radio News. If you can, become a patron, patreon.com/TaraDevlin. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and everything else. And yeah, what else? Oh, subscribe to my Substack. All right, we don't, I'll do the e-begging throughout. At least I'll try. Hi, everybody. Hi, nice to see you. Haha, David. Nice to see you, Michael. And, of course, nice to see you, Jim. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a great Thanksgiving week. And we will have a Tarabuster on Friday. So if you're around on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, let's hang out Friday night, 8:30 p.m. at the Tarabuster YouTube channel and on the Political Voices Substack. Okay, where do we begin? Trump. Can you believe how sick this world is? That we have to be batted around by the whims of somebody like Traitor Trump, right? After a while, it becomes a question of it's not about him. It's about who we are. So I always have to ask, how much longer are we going to take it? How much longer are we going to have to be used as pawns, as playthings by this effing sociopath, this unfit sociopath? And I really do hope that, people are saying maggots are waking up. It's such a shame that they only see the light when something affects them directly, isn't it? Really, shame on them. And I hope that when we get through this time, that we realize that, Mother Nature made us interdependent for a reason. And being a sociopathic, pathological, liar, greed-centered ghost of the Gilded Age is not something to be admired. It's something to evolve out of. Being a sociopath, a psychopath, that doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself, is not an aspiration that we should try to emulate. It's something to be contained. Selfishness is a disease in the human experience. We don't give medals or we don't build statues to selfish pricks. This is what I can't stand about Republicans, because everything they talk about is bullshit. They're like, support the troops. What is a selfish troop? As somebody who served in the military, unlike Traitor Trump, if you're a selfish soldier, you're a coward. Nobody needs you in their unit or platoon or any. Or you can't, there are gardens of stone all over this world young men and women in their cold early graves who gave their last full measure of devotion for this country. And that's the height of sacrifice. It's not, and it's the height of being of unselfish, right? So, how did we go so wrong with, venerating these greed-centered ghouls? They should be looked at as the disease in our body politic that they are, and the disease of our human experience. Jesus Christ. Hold on. So anyway, yeah, and I'm just sick of it. I'm also sick of the delusion where, I'm glad that the maggots are waking up. Like I said, it's a shame they have to. It only happens when they are affected personally, which is something that we have to point out, because if in order to get over our sicknesses as a society, we have to name it, take a searching and fearless moral inventory of this shit. What's working? What's not working? Right now we have really horrible people running around the halls of power, and they shouldn't be there. And, eternal shame on everyone that voted for this, There are still horrible people. Gary on the chat says, waking up, but still horrible people. I always wonder about how someone can pull the lever for someone like Trump. Let me tell you, I remember back in the day, talking to my father when Bloomberg was the mayor of New York. And I think it was an election time or something. And I said to my father was a Reagan Republican, okay, which really pissed me off. And we used to get into arguments about it because I felt like, don't you love me? Don't you don't you give a shit about me? Don't you want me to have health care? Don't you want me to have retirement? And I think being a victim of Fox News and Rush Limbaugh, that's what made him who he was. But my father in my family, according to my aunts and uncles, because my father was one of 8 children, and he was the only one that voted for Nixon of all of them. My aunt told me so, but when the election, I don't know if it was the election of Bloomberg, but we were talking about Bloomberg one day, and his response was, I said, you voted for Bloomberg or something? And he's like, yeah, he can't be bought. That's what they think, right? That's the line, I guess, for working class people. Because my father was a garbage man. He worked for the New York City sanitation. He was a teamster, a union man, which really pissed me off. He was able to raise 3 kids, buy a home, go on vacation, buy a car every now and then, have a nice, decent life, and then retire in dignity and security thanks to the New Deal policies that he just thought were his birthright. I suppose he thought that those policies came about because billionaires were feeling generous one day. And that's a shame, because that's the delusion that a lot of my father's generation were under. Well, I did it. Why can't you? And yeah, my father was in the service. He used his GI Bill money to buy a home and such, and some of these, democratic policies weren't available to people who had darker pigment. That's just the bottom line there. That's just the truth. But, it just seems that a lot of the people from my father's generation never understood how the, government policy made the American middle class. And government policy destroyed it. Right now, the United States is the least upwardly mobile, with the widest income gap between rich and poor, We used to be the most upwardly mobile. I mean, these are statistics that the American people should know. And we should be ashamed, because Trader Trump can be bought. The delusion that a billionaire, the benevolent billionaire, is going to save this country has got to be, I guess, I was going to say slapped out of somebody's head, legally and peacefully. It has to be, people have to be woken up from this delusion. We're in this boat because of government policies, because of deregulation, because of conservatism. Everywhere, and correct me if I'm wrong. Look all over the world, okay? Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, if I'm wrong, let's talk about it. But show me a conservative country where people are happy, okay? Run by a conservative government where there's economic prosperity, upward mobility, where not just the American people, where the people are healthy, happy, content, living, legally and peacefully, right? So it doesn't exist. Unless I've missed something, all over the world, conservative countries are shitholes. I mean, they're good for a certain few. They're good for those at the top. This is the kind of country the disgusting sociopaths who are running this country, who people, like my father, voted for because I guess they thought that Trump, they believed the bullshit. Some of them did, I guess. I don't know how. How can you believe that a serial bankrupt, tax-cheating, draft-dodging baboon, no offense to baboons, gives a shit about you? Somebody in his entire life, there's not a single episode or example of this traitor Trump, doing something for anybody but himself. There would be, if you have this in your heart, you have I'm going to rescue the forgotten man and woman, then there would be some examples of it. Look in my life. You'll find examples of me, doing things that I believe in, passionate about. Working with animals, helping rescue animals, helping, going to protests, participating in political events. You'll see this because this is what I believe in. But what does Trump believe in? How does he spend his time? How do the fake Christians who prop him up spend their time? Right? That's right. And Jim on the chat says Americans are only taught to think shallowly. And that is so true. And it has to stop. FDR had his brain trust, surrounded himself with advisors from academia, from economics, philosophy. They didn't necessarily have to be the richest, most disgusting ghouls on the planet. They had to be some people who believed in humanity, advancing the human cause. Decency, dignity, right? But who does Trump surround himself with? Sociopaths like himself. It's watching him with Mohammed bin Bonesaw in the Oval Office was probably one of the most despicable and disgusting things I've seen in a while. Yucking it up, slapping his hand. This bloody dictator who lured a journalist into an embassy and dismembered him alive. Let's not forget that word. I hear it on the corporate media. They say he murdered Jamal Khashoggi. He dismembered him. No, that's how he murdered him. Alive. And there's a recording of this. Trump is a piece of dirt. Okay? And all that matters is money. So I don't get how this, of course this is going to end badly. But the worst part of it all is that everything Trump touches and the Republican Party touches, let's expand it. Because everything they touch, they destroy. There's not a single example since this monstrosity was shoved back in the Oval Office. There's not a single example of success. Can anybody give me one? Right? I don't think so. I mean, nowhere. We have the worst jobs record now since the pandemic, since a worldwide global pandemic. And I mean, it's just so disgusting. Let me see, where is it? His mass deportation now, right? Mass deportation now. Think about how disgusting that is, that these maggots, that they, while the Democrats ran on joy and freedom and America and unity and e pluribus unum, the Republicans ran on mass deportation now. So you can't tell me what the Republicans are all about. They show us. Don't tell us, Republicans. Show us. You could tell us you're all about America and freedom and Jesus, but you're not. You're about racism and smallness and bigotry and hate and division. Mass deportation now. Because you know why? And I was explaining this on my show the other night too, because I've talked to these maggots. They want all the benefits of civilization, all of the benefits that Democrats fought, bled, and died to bring into fruition, and they want it, but they just don't want to share with other people. That's really the bottom line. And when I've talked to these maggots, and you can just see some of their footage, this when they are interviewed, because with this useless corporate media, they always have to check in on the maggots. They always have to say, hey, how you feeling now? How come they never check in with the normal people? That's what I always wonder. They never check in with normal people. They always just check in with maggots. How you feeling? You regret your vote? That's not how you should approach a maggot. Anyway, by the way, if this were a sane country, the only question to the maggots would be, what the F is wrong with you? What the F? You were there the first time. Imagine voting for a con man, voting for your own demise 3 separate times. You had 3 times to wake the F up, and you're that repugnant that, you look at this effing baboon who is a disgrace to everything, to every sacrifice ever made for America. And you say, yeah, more of that, please. I don't get it. So that's why they're, we got to shame them. If they have the capacity for shame. I know Hal Sparks always says you can't shame the shameless. It's true. But, maybe there's a residual effect. You know what I mean? Some people around them can be shamed. They can't all be sociopaths. But, yeah, you got to be. Isn't that embarrassing? You're sending this. It's not just him. It's the rest of them, too. They're all disgusting and horrible. But that's because, I guess, I don't know, you hate the same people. I hope it keeps you warm at night. But, so, yeah, they ran on mass deportations. And the truth is, the mass deportation agenda is extraordinarily expensive. And it diverts public money away from far more productive uses. That's why, they don't know how to govern, and conservatives really should be a minority party. They don't have any business being in the majority. They don't know what they're doing. They're ideologues more than sincere partners in governance. It's true. Because what are their solutions to anything? What do they bring to the table? A tax cut? A tax deregulation? That's it. They never have anything, productive, or they don't have big ideas or good ideas. They're not really trying to solve America's problems. They're trying to grift. They're in governance, they or whatever in government to to grift. They're not there for altruism. They're not there to, help their communities. And that's the sad part. That's why, just look at, and this is why I always say on my show, because, and this is my show, what am I talking about? That we should add the qualifier whenever you talk about a red state, you say poorly run red state, because it's not just good politics, it's the truth. Poorly run red states, they suck. Everything that they touch, they destroy. All the red states are the highest in all negative measures: poverty, access to health care, even environment. They live in these shitty places. But yeah, I'm sure that I know my good friend Roxanne Kincaid, lives in West Virginia, and she took me around, loves the Purple Mountains Majesty and all that. It's a beautiful place, man. Very beautiful. I mean, all the places that haven't been raped by the coal industry. But yeah, I don't know. Is it worth it? I don't know. Whatever. I live in Queens. It's not that we're not known for the beauty, for the aesthetics. So sometimes if I go other places and I come back to Queens, I'm like, this place is it's kind of meh, But the city at night is beautiful. So I have a very nice view of the city from my apartment. But anyway, so Trump's mass deportation agenda, of course, costs more, and it's draining America of our resources. I mean, you want to boil humanity down to resources like Ayn Rand would. Immigrants contribute to our country. That's what made America great. That's what the Republicans don't understand, because they talk about American exceptionalism. What is that? What is American exceptionalism to a maggot? Right? The ability to say the N-word without some B word giving you shit about it. What is American exceptionalism? I mean, American exceptionalism used to be understood as that we were a melting pot. We attracted the best talent from all over the world, and anyone could come here, and you could, enjoy the fruits of, the system that many entrusted to us, fought, bled, and died to entrust to us. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. But the American Immigration Council estimates that a one-time operation to deport about 13.3 million undocumented immigrants would cost about $315 billion in government spending. So, but when you talk to maggots, here's the thing, and like I was saying, they want all the benefits of civilization. They just don't want to share. And they think that if immigrants, are deported, then they would have more Medicare, clearly, right? So, because if immigrants are deported, because that's what I hear from the maggots all the time. They're like, well, I'm on Social Security and I'm on Medicare and Medicaid or whatever. And I got, I'm living hand to mouth and it's difficult. And the line is that Democrats are giving all the benefits, we have a pool of benefits. It's a zero-sum game, and Democrats are giving all the benefits to illegals, and that means there's the poor put upon maggot is feeling the pinch, but they've been bamboozled clearly by the Fox News, mouthpieces that keep them divided, that tell them, they're just there to distract, to point fingers at those lower on the ladder. But they think that if there's a mass deportation, suddenly their Social Security payments are going to go up. and there's going to be health care, universal health care, and everything's going to be great because the social safety net will finally go to Americans. You know, America first. This is the scam that the Republicans perpetrate on the American people. So it is really unbelievable how easily played the maggots are. And it's really disgusting because you want to talk about America first. Trump is a Russian asset. Okay. This is, I don't know. You know, we're all going to be in another in another place when the real history of this time is written. But I just wonder, you know, how stupid you got to be, you know, not to see the conspiracy right in front of your face. Because clearly, when you look at Trump through the lens of he's a Russian asset, then it kind of makes sense. But it just came out yet again that the Republicans are, where is this? These influencers. Now, we know that maggot influencers like Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, they were getting paid by Russia. And, you know, you don't, and so many others too. What's his face? Mark Zuckerberg, another traitor, you know. All of these traitors, there will be an accounting, legally and peacefully. But he was, in fact, Mark Zuckerberg was taking money in, taking payments in rubles to run disinformation on Facebook. How, I mean, you know, there's got to be a, some kind of, what do you call it, accountability for that, I think. We have to do something about, you know, the next traitor that wants to get in bed with the conservatives who are trying to destroy our democracy. You know, and in history, how whenever a you know, whenever a democracy falls to fascism or autocracy, it does so with the help of the conservatives from the inside. So, you know, we shouldn't be surprised at Mike Johnson and the rest of the maggots who have completely abdicated their Article 1 role in the government. They should be ashamed, but it's good to see some pushback now. But make no mistake what's going on. They are, you know, maggots, they've never been small d Democrats, Republicans. And just like what happened in World War II, when the fascists marched into, just how Hitler became the chancellor of Germany with the help of the conservatives who thought that they could control him. So they gave him the chancellery, and you see, we all know how that turned out. But when the Nazis marched into their neighboring countries, and it was the conservative power structure that opened the door for them, that helped them, that enabled the treason, like in Norway and in Poland and in France, of course. But same thing, you know, that's Mike Johnson. Just go, if this were 1939 Germany, we all know where Mike Johnson's loyalties would lie. He's just a disgrace. But yeah, and MAGA, of course, is supposed to be this homegrown U.S. political movement, but just like the teabaggers, I'm old enough to remember the teabaggers. I'm sure you guys remember how we had to endure them. Before they were maggots, they were teabaggers. And that was supposed to be a grassroots movement, but it was another astroturf movement manipulated by the billionaires that brought them to fruition. The Koch brothers, they funded these buses for them, and others, and kept their this so-called grassroots movement afloat. But during the 2016 campaign and throughout, we all know that Trump was being aided by Russia. Now, as much as Trump likes to go Russia, 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 it's a Russia hoax. He's a dirtbag. He's a traitor. The only loyalty Trump has is to himself and that greed-centered hole that will never be filled, that substitutes as a personality for this baboon. That's it. He's disgusting. I'm every now and then I have to stop and think, like, how is this even going on? It's unfathomable. And that's what the future generations, when they look back, they're going to be like, what the F was wrong with these people? Right? Because it's like, even when you see them in the Oval Office, this fake White House press corps, whatever they are, they're certainly not, I don't know what they are. They're stenographers. They're not journalists. But where do you draw the line? When he goes, quiet, piggy, to, I guess, if you're working for a corporate entity and you're a reporter, and the baboon says, quiet, piggy, I suppose you zip your lip because you don't want to get kicked out, I guess, and you want to keep your corporate job, your health care, and all that other shit, while, especially now that Republicans are ruining health care, but as they always ruin everything they touch. But where does the, where do you draw the line? Quiet, piggy. Where's the unity? What do you mean, piggy? The only piggy in that room was the baboon. Except I don't want to insult pigs, because pigs are great, charming, and intelligent creatures. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat animals. And I encourage that behavior. No judgment, but, And pigs are... they've contributed so much to humanity that Trader Trump could never come close to in a million lifetimes. He's a taker. He's a parasite. So to call him a pig is to honor him, is to give him a promotion. So, okay, that's really splitting hairs, but there has to be some kind of unity. You say, the fuck is this? Like, what are you doing there asking questions of this monstrosity who is a moron? Everyone should just have clammed up and walked the F off that plane and never go back. That would really metaphorically kill the baboon, because he thrives on attention, because as a malignant narcissist, he needs that narcissistic supply. And that's why he will not leave office. And unless he drops dead, he's not leaving office legally and peacefully. He's not. It's not a joke. They already got the merch. Trump 2025. You know what I mean? So he's it's not a joke. He does not have any honor. So yeah, it is the stupidest timeline. It really is. And it's because of the people. And I mean, we have been on a full court press from the conservatives that have dragged us to this point. We're not teaching young people civics, government. We're not teaching them about how precarious democracies are and how they have to be nurtured and cultivated and protected from the likes of Republicans. But to get back to and this is how stupid the maggots are. See, I'm so sick of them. They make it so easy. And of course we have people like Elon Musk, who's a sociopath, but he's a con man too. So for people who see the conspiracies under every rock, it really irritates me that they don't see the conspiracy right in front of their face that they fall for all the time. Like MAGA. MAGA is a Russian psyops. Who would have thunk it except me and many others? I'm sure you as well. The MAGA, you got to think about it. If Russians approached me and said, will you take, because this is what Tim Pool was getting, $200,000 a month? He was getting $200,000 a month to make, I think, a video a week, a pro-Trump video a week. Get the, hello? Wouldn't you kind of say to yourself, why is it that our anti-American, anti-democratic country with an autocrat, why is it that this country has such a vested interest in me creating pro-Trump content that they're going to pay me $200,000 a month? That's outrageous, first of all, right? You would think that's a red flag. But, Tim Pool and Benny Johnson are dumb as shit, and they're traitors. So they don't care, just like Trump. They'll sell their own mother. They don't care how many. They'll give lip service to the military. They'll say, oh, thank you for your service, and they'll act real tough. But they're not tough, and they don't have the courage, the decency, the maturity to function in a democracy. They hate America. Let's cut to the chase. They don't like this country. They want a dictator. They want a daddy to save them from the scary, complex world. That's why they hate diversity. Because they're small and fragile and they e pluribus unum. What? Well, I don't want to go. We talked about what was his name? Oh yeah, it was Benny Johnson, the traitor who took money from Russians to to spread pro-Trump content. But he gave some speech at the Heritage Foundation where he said that diversity is a weakness. It's something from the pit of hell, something bullshit. I mean, can you? What the fuck? From the pits of hell. Diversity. These are people that pretend to love Jesus and God. Well, I mean, God made us diverse. God, if that's what you believe, God made us interdependent, little Benny. Who cares? If you can't handle it, that's just the way it is. Shame on you for dragging us down. But U.S. intelligence and multiple investigations have concluded that Russia ran a large-scale interference campaign in 2016, and that has not stopped, right? They ran this campaign back in the day to hurt Hillary Clinton and help traitor Trump, including hacking Democratic targets, running a troll and bot network. But that troll and bot network, what do you think they're going to pack up and go home? Especially now, because Trump and the maggots and the Republicans have made it easier for them to do it. Elon Musk doesn't give a shit about America. He needs to, I can't wait. Please let him be deported. Please. I want to see it. Then we'll know we're on the right track. Let him be deported. He hates America. He's already shown us, he turned off the Starlink, whatever the hell that is, during a Ukrainian battle. How dare he should have been arrested right then and there. And this is another example how you don't want billionaires entrenched in our government. But so since 2016, U.S. and European officials have documented Russian propaganda converging with segments of the American right, especially around Ukraine and NATO, this globalist conspiracy. The Republicans fall for it all the time. And where is this? Let me play this video of this lady back. This was from 2016. This poor maggot. She's being interviewed by I think CNN reporter who went to tell her, lady, this pro-Trump Facebook group you're an admin of is a Russian psyops.
What part of it in this is a cover-up? What you saying that's not true, or what?
The Russians, I don't care if they were involved or not. That to me is the least important thing.
But they were involved with you. Did you guys know that?
They weren't
She's a
involved
useless
with us.
idiot.
You know, just make sure that you report it correctly. That, you know,
But you guys were involved with being patriotic, right?
very, very patriotic, but not.
Being
dumb
Patriotic was
bitch.
the group that contacted and helped
You
organize some of these
dumb.
activities that you posted on your own Facebook account.
Those were legitimate.
Those were Russians.
They were not Russians. I don't go with the Russians.
That
Come on,
group
give me a
was
break.
Russian.
Oh, lady.
I have nothing to do with the Russians. The
Well,
groups-
apparently you
the-
did.
No.
Maybe you didn't know it, but
Oh,
you
please.
did.
When you're talking like this, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Well, I'm
Wow.
talking what's
Those
based
people
on
that
the
were with me were all Trump supporters. Very,
They're
very much
also
so.
useless
and all
idiots.
apparently following the direction of groups that were associated with Russians who were
BS.
actually infiltrating.
BS. And
Oh,
please,
wow, wow.
please report that. I don't believe that. That's bullshit. I know all the people that were with me, okay? They were at my meetings.
Oh, you
They're
poor
all
dumb
Trump
bitch.
supporters, okay?
But did you realize
they're
that you guys were in
useless
communication
idiots.
electronically with Russians?
Not me. I don't
You
know.
were posting stuff on the Facebook.
Hillary Clinton was, and so was all her bandits.
Some of
I
the
know
stuff
you are,
that
but
you
what
were
am
in charge
I?
of the Facebook account.
You see? I know you are, but what am I? That should be the maggot mantra. I know you are, but what am I? Don't say, wow. Thank you for informing me. I'm a useless idiot in the demise of America. Oh, it gets
Right?
worse.
You were posting and reposting almost word for word the information that was coming out of this internet research agency
Look
No.
at this
in
shit,
St.
right?
Petersburg.
No.
You don't believe that?
Nope. It's bullshit.
Oh, you dumb bitch. You're fake news. Yeah. She says, this is for those listening audio only, the graphic says, she says she never communicated with any Russians and says no one at any of their protests were anything but Americans for Trump. That's neither here nor there, lady. You're being manipulated by Russians. Don't you see? I mean, you don't have to be in their presence, but you're running a Facebook group that is operated in the bowels of the Kremlin, and they're triggering you, and they're sharing things with you that are false, and you're repeating it. And when you are informed about it, you close the door and say you're fake news. It's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic, but it's continuing, of course. Republicans have done away with the protections against the Russians infiltrate, like on Facebook, and it's not just the Republicans. I'm trying to look this up. Hold on a second. The policy makers, there were all these agencies and monitors that were trying to protect the American people from Russian psyops misinformation. But the Republicans did away with it. And why? They did away with all of the sanctions on these actors, these Russian, the fucking Russians who want to destroy America without firing a shot. Of course. And the Republicans make it so easy on them, which is so disgusting, That's why I'm so sick of them with their crying, saying that they're patriots. You're not patriots. So let me see. A new transparency tool on Elon Musk's Twitter. I don't call it X. Fuck him. Pardon my French. Exposed that many prominent MAGA and right-wing influencer accounts were operated from outside the United States, revealing patterns of foreign involvement in U.S. political discourse. Well, that's why Elon Musk bought Twitter, isn't it? He bought it to make it easier for him to destroy this country. That's why he's got to be stripped of his ill-gotten gains and deported. Really, that's going to be a great getting up morning, you know? So let's see. The transparency feature, you can look at about this account. And if you did that, it would show the account location, the join date, the username. And users discovered that major MAGA accounts all originated from overseas. For example, MAGA Nation, which has nearly 500,000 followers. That was from Eastern Europe. Ivanka News, 1 million followers. That's originated in Nigeria. All of where these scams originate as well. And the public reaction has ranged from shock to claims of a major blow to right-wing communities. Well, if that's the case, you know, wake the F up. But really, you got to ask yourself, maggots, if you're a maggot and you're just passing through, ask yourself why the enemies of America really love Donald Trump. They want him in office. Do you think it's because they want to make your life better? They want to make America great? Or is it that they want to tear this country into shreds? I mean, you're just so pathetic. It's sad. But let's see. Oh, yes. And then, of course, Elon Musk briefly removed it, I guess, because of backlash. It was re-enabled. The Center for Information and Resilience documented ongoing use of fake accounts to support MAGA messaging during the 2024 election. High numbers of MAGA influencers are located abroad, and some of these foreign operators are paid per tweet to generate engagement. And they are, let's see, originating in Nigeria, Bangladesh. It's sad. But what can we expect from Republicans? Because they have nothing in reality to boast about. They have nothing to offer. And they need to make it easy to steal. In a free, democratic, multiracial, liberal democracy, you got to consider other people. You got to consider the labor, paying labor a fair share of the profit that labor makes possible in the first place. But they don't want that because they're not, it's just so much easier to steal if people are divided and have no power to do anything about it, right? Have no power to do anything about the boot on your that they have on your neck. Here's one of the accounts. Look at all MAGA Nation, so American. America First Patriot. Unreal, right? Who's this guy? Just some rando they put a flag over. It gives it legitimacy. He's still posting. 19 members of Congress are immigrants. This needs to change. You see? This is the post that they just put up an hour ago. 19 members of Congress are immigrants. This needs to change. Someone that wasn't born here should never decide America's future. Period. You agree? Now, this account is coming from Eastern Europe. So, you tell me. Someone not born here? Born where? Born where, MAGA Nation? In Eastern Europe? Filthy. And look, and there are people who even knows if they're actual accounts. Yes, the American government should be run by Americans. Enough, maggots. Stop being the useless idiots in America's demise. If only you were the patriots you pretend to be. I'd be all for you. But you're not. It's disgusting. Yeah, so Elon, let's see, he's also, just in keeping with the theme of whatever Republicans touch, they destroy. I'm sure you heard that Doge, the fake Department of Government Efficiency, cost more money. It costs us more. It killed people. It really has destroyed everything that it, I guess, was supposed to elevate. Was he elevating anything though? The fake Department of Government Efficiency. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, shredded capacity, fed corruption, was riddled with conflicts of interest, of course, amplified the same destructive patterns that he inflicted on his companies. And that's all Musk does. He's not a genius. He's not an innovator. And I've done this so many times on my show about him, about Elon Musk, because I really do hate him with the heat of 1,000 blazing suns, legally and peacefully. He's one of the reasons this world is so in turmoil. He really needs to be contained, like a cancer cell, But and that's why they need to tax him down to reasonableness. Not just him, all billionaires. There should be no billionaires. Billionaires shouldn't exist, much less trillionaires. It's ridiculous. But he, they just made things worse for America. You couldn't have done more harm to America if you tried. So, and then what's so sad is that there are so many Americans that cheer, and still do cheer this disgusting sociopath and believe he's a genius. He's not a genius. He's not an innovator. He's a parasite like the baboon. So Doge was, and if you haven't caught up yet, I don't know, it was created to slash waste with Musk installed as a special government employee because he's supposed to be so smart. According to this effed up timeline we're on, only billionaires are smart. If you come up with a grift to take money from people, it doesn't matter how, you could come up with some scam, just like Trader Trump, sell some magic beans and trinkets and bullshit to people. Like the Trump phone, for example, which is another scam that these monsters are running, the Trump family. Oh my God. Has there ever been a cabal of more useless people except for Mary Trump? Right? Poor Mary. She's got to redeem that entire lineage of DNA. So they were supposed to, Elon Musk's Doge was supposed to slash waste. And Musk, even though he was an illegal immigrant himself, but that's okay, because different rules. He was installed as a special government employee, running the rebranded U.S. digital service. Well, he was there to steal our data. That's what he was there to do. And they claimed tens of billions in savings, but did not provide, of course, any receipts. No public accounting, no auditable numbers, making it impossible for anyone to verify. But that's what Republicans do. It's just like when the baboon had Mohammed bin Bonesaw in the Oval Office. And he's like, he's investing $600 billion and maybe, what? Did you say it? Do you mean it? $1 trillion. $1 trillion. You might as well have had the pinky up to his lips, because the entire GDP of Saudi Arabia is a little over $600 billion, and so that kind of makes this number fantastical. It's nothing. It's bullshit. It is a scam. As always, when they write the history of this time, it will be known as the new Gilded Age of greed, grifters, and gaslighting. Hey, he's gonna invest. You know, this Mohammed bin Bonesaw who hates humanity, who hates America, who chopped up alive a permanent resident who was working in our precious capacity of a reporter, you know, a journalist, the only profession enshrined in the Constitution as being necessary and vital for a free democratic society. And this monster lured him to an embassy, and his henchmen dismembered him alive. And now here he is with the so-called president of the United States, laughing it up, backslapping this monster. It's an offense to everyone who ever died for this country. And you could count Jamal Khashoggi in that list. There has to be an accounting one day. There has to be. Otherwise, it will happen again. But Doge claimed tens of billions in savings, of course, but it cost America money. It cost more than it saved. I mean, what are you going to say? And then plus, not only the money, though. It cost us in stress and trauma. And this is what we do to ourselves, to each other in America now. This is the problem with America. You know, I got mine. Sucks to be you. And if you go on the leopards eating my face Reddit page, which I do quite often, you'll see all of the maggots, not all, but, you know, you'll see plenty of examples of maggots that have regrets now that the Trump policies have affected them. Oh, I didn't mean for my job to be cut. I'm not waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, they wanted to hurt others. And this is why we have to shame these maggots. They can't be let off the hook. I'm fine with them joining the fold, but there has to be an atoning here. There has to be a mea culpa, especially for the 3-time losers. Yeah, Jesus Christ. So, yeah, they're just... The whole thing is everything's a scam. So we pay our taxes, and they scam us. Now, I'm running out of time. The show's only an hour on Tuesdays, so when we get together again on Friday at the Tarabuster YouTube channel and the Political Voices Substack, I really want to go into Trump's proposal. His concepts of a plan for American health care, which, of course, will only make everything worse. And the fact is, the healthcare, Obamacare is is the Republican healthcare plan, as we know. But that's why Republicans have no ideas. They just don't give a shit. They don't care. They're out for themselves. If we didn't have money in politics, we'd already have universal health care. This is the problem. And it's time to continuously say it. The Republicans destroy everything they touch. But it is good to see Trump losing. So it gives me hope. This too shall pass, but in the meantime, there's going to be a lot more pain ahead. All right, my friends. Listen, I hear the music. Thank you for hanging out. Hopefully we'll get some more, I don't know. We're going to have some guests on this show one of these days. One of these days. We will. We'll have JoJo from Jers next week. I'm going to have, I think, is it next week? Beowulf from Good News for Progressives. I think I got to confirm with him. And so that'd be nice. He has a show about good news for progressives. I said I could use that. I could use some good news. And yeah, I think we could all use some good news now and then. I mean, good luck to him. I wonder how he gets the content. But we'll find out. And then we'll have other guests. All right, my friends. But in the meantime, listen. Thank you for hanging out on our Tuesday. This will be our regular Tuesday gathering. Thank you, Jim, for being a moderator, as always. This show will be uploaded tomorrow on the Tarabuster YouTube channel, youtube.com/C for channel/Tarabuster. Also, let me see, I'm going to put this in the chat here so you can subscribe and hang out with us on Friday. And what else? I feel like something just went out of my mind. I was going to say something. Oh, yes. If you can, please subscribe to my Substack. Tarabuster. Here we go. Why am I talking like that? I don't know. Subscribe to my Substack. If you can subscribe, for money or whatever, that helps. But free is good too. So I got to get those numbers up. Let's get those numbers up, kid. So we can really get some more good guests. And maybe one time we'll have, I don't know. We'll try to get more guests. I'm going to get guests, okay? We have some. Jojo was coming on, I swears. You saw. It never ends, does it? All right, my friends, listen. Do me a favor and subscribe. Just subscribe. That's all I can say. Subscribe to the Political Voices Network, too. And remember, we will win. We're on the right side of history. We're on the right side of decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Thank you so much for hanging out, guys. I really appreciate your time, your support. My name is Tara Devlin. Remember, thank you. I see you, Brandon. Thank you. Good chat. Yep. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Jim, of course, and Gary and Michael. Who else? Terry. Who else is in here? A lot of people. Nice to see everybody. Tell your friends, and I will see you I'll see you on Friday night. Or maybe next Tuesday. I don't know. Have a great Thanksgiving. I almost forgot to say that. Remember. And think about, we will win. I'll see you soon. And thank you, Charlie, from APS Radio News. Oh, yeah. Thank you for all you do. And let me remind you before I go, on Charlie runs apsradio.com. And if you're looking for the music for your holiday, go to APS Radio and you will have classic rock and oldies all day, or a classical music channel. apsradio.com. Okay, so let APS Radio be the backdrop for your holiday. How's that sound? Good? Let me see. I'll put that in the chat. APS Radio. And then there's APS Radio News. But APS Radio has the chat. I mean, the music. The music for your holidays. And if you're an old person like me, classic rock and oldies, that's great. It's make some new memories with the music of your memories. Hey, that's a good one. That should be a tag. All right. Guys, thank you. I will see you soon. Have a great Thanksgiving.